Well, speaking of punk, I've always heard a lot of that classic Orange County hardcore in what you guys do. In particular, I would say DI and Social Distortion, but like a lot of your stuff really, really, really sounds like DI, that like old like Rick Agnew bands. You guys have been lumped in with metal, but I've always felt like punk was kind of just as much of what you do. Tell me about where punk kind of fits into the mix.
Yeah. Punk was my real first love in terms of like finding music myself. I'd been introduced to, Appetite for Destruction and, Nevermind and Pearl Jam and all that stuff by my dad, and radio. But when I found punk, I think the first record I got was Pennywise Unknown Road. And then, I saw a bunch of signs for, I remember I was listening to Pantera and all that stuff, but I remember seeing signs for Punk and Drublick. It was coming out, went to warehouse, stole the CD with the Rev. They used to have those plastic things on them, and we would take a lighter and burn them off in the corner and then put.
Oh, okay.
And so stole that record and then became obsessed with the ethic or the ethos and the just the wildness of punk rock, and really became obsessed with anything on Fat Records, anything on Epitaph, Fearless Records, Hopeless Records, all those record labels, right? Like everything. So it really was my first love of music that I felt like was mine. It wasn't popular. I remember how crazy it was to hear Stranger Than Fiction when it came out, and then they were playing the song Stranger Than Fiction on K-Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it because it was like my bands. It was like they're playing my stuff, right? The stuff I'm into. And so me and the Rev, we really toggled between Pantera, Slayer, Megadeth, Testament, Queensryche, Dream Theater. But we really went to all the punk rock shows, and we were really into the NoFX, the Bad Religions, the Good Riddances, the Propagandis, all those sorts of bands. And so we were living in two sort of different worlds. I remember one time we went to a punk show and we wore our Slayer and Pantera shirts, and everyone was making fun of us. And then we didn't realize that one of the opening acts was a ska band. And I think it was Save Ferris. And everyone was skanking, and we didn't know what it was. So Jimmy ran in there and hit someone in the back, and then everyone tried to jump on him. And then I tried to push him. I thought we were like in a circle pit, like I was like, we had our Pantera, like I had the Pantera shirt with the big marijuana leaf, and he had the Slayer shirt with, probably some Nazi character looking thing coming out of
those metal guys from Huntington came and beat up all the punks.
Well, we were so young too. All these ska people, the ska kids were high school kids, and we were like 6th, 7th grade with our Pantera. And so we were just really trying to figure out the rules of what everything was. Cause to us, we were just like this big mixture of, Metal Blade and freaking and Epitaph.
Right.
But that's Southern California. I tell everyone, I go, we would have never had that if we didn't grow up in Southern California, because you got Guttermouth living down the street. Yeah, I remember rolling by the garage in my friend's house, and you hear them practicing in a garage. You got bands like Donuts and Glory, and you got this punk scene, and all of us had punk bands. I don't think that happens in Ohio, or maybe it doesn't happen in Texas. I don't know. At the time, it just seemed so fresh in the labels. You had Epitaph, it was in LA, and Fat Mike was up in the East Bay running Fat Records. It just in Berkeley, and you had Rancid, and you had like Operation Ivy and Pinhead Gunpowder and Green Day coming out, and it just felt like it was such a California thing. And Social Distortion as well, right? Like they'd play 20 nights at the House of Blues, and we'd go see 6 of those nights. Like, and you didn't really do that. Hold on. And you didn't really do that. Sorry. You didn't really do that in these other areas, is what it seemed like.